I'm going to divorce my wife, as she can't get over her mom dying. The mother of my 36M wife's 33F mother passed away from lung cancer 5 years ago. It was hardly an easy or tranquil death. After the diagnosis, our lives naturally came to a halt, and we both took extended leaves of absence from work to assist in taking care of her mother. At the time, my wife's grieving process was very conventional, going through several phases. Our 3 children are the same. Nevertheless, my wife deteriorated greatly after her death. I am fully aware of this. Since I haven't lost a parent, I can't claim to fully comprehend her experiences, but I can appreciate her grief. After that, she hardly could function for months. Almost all of the home and child-rearing duties were kindly assumed by me. Since receiving the diagnosis and even after her death, she had been going to bereavement therapy. This is not the issue at all. I did my best to offer as much support as I could. For months, she wept on my shoulder every night, and I simply assumed that this was the worst version of for better or worse. The issue is that she does not appear to have gotten any better or more functional after 5 years. She said nothing could assist her and that grief therapy would not help her. So she quit going around 4 years ago and refused to go back. She will have a significant dip approximately 1 month prior to any significant holiday. Crying all day, spending half of the day in bed, lacking the energy to do anything around the house, and not wanting to engage with the family. This will continue for approximately a week following the conclusion of the holiday. Every holiday brings me great sorrow, no more so than it did 5 years ago. Every year, October, November, December, and January, her mother's birthday month, are very difficult for me because I'm basically raising my 3 children alone without my wife. She has been totally disabled by grief for the past 5 years, or around 6 months of the year. I really do mean it when I say incapacitated. She can't have any intimacy with me or the kids when she's in the depths of her grief. There isn't any snuggling, hanging out with us, or taking family vacations. Half the year I'm not having sex. She can't even get words out if she tries to talk about it, so I've stopped asking if she wants to talk about it. The fact that the youngsters are no longer inquiring or showing care is what hurts the most. When they arrive home and see their mother in bed, they simply carry on with their days, saying in passing that, "Oh, Mom is sad today," in response to inquiries from me or their siblings about her whereabouts. They hardly ever get more than tears from Mom, so they don't really look for affection from her anymore. I've talked about this with therapists, my parents, friends, and so on. I'm aware of all the arguments people will make against it, so let me to address them now. She refuses to visit a doctor for depression or return to therapy for grief counseling. Yes, I am aware of her extreme depression. She cannot be made to visit the doctor by me. I've made a lot of attempts. Yes, the intensity hasn't changed in the last 5 years. No, I never blow her off or tell her to get over it. Most days I attempt to give her some comfort, but on my worst days I just give her space and leave her alone. You can judge me for leaving her alone if you want to, but know that right now I feel like I'm just exhausted from being a caregiver. She has ADHD, but she does not have a history of depression. I'm not sure if that matters. It feels like my wife passed away with her mother. She doesn't seem to be able or wanting to go on after her mother's death, but I would do anything to get her back, even just a tiny bit of her. I know it's terrible to think of getting a divorce, but I'm at a loss on what to do. Update. During my work break, I wrote the post as a sort of stream of consciousness. Since nothing I've ever posted has ever received any significant attention, I just believed it would be forgotten and didn't go back to look at it till later. And to be very honest, I was afraid that I would receive a ton of flack for being callous or insensitive in the comments. I was a little overwhelmed with the thought of replying to all of the incredibly nice and insightful direct messages I received, so I thought I would publish an update here. Somebody suggested that I should have her hospitalized against her will. Although I didn't include it in the initial post, I did question our family doctor about it, maybe a year ago, and he said it's unlikely to happen unless she poses a threat to herself or others. I did some research on this as well, and it seems to apply to the state in which we currently reside. I acknowledge that she requires medical attention. I have a suspicion that she lied to her counselor throughout the year she spent receiving grief counseling following the loss of her mother. She told me upon returning from one of her final sessions that her counselor had probably told her she wouldn't need to go much longer. She then went and sobbed on the bed. She still doesn't want to return to counseling, despite my best efforts. I'm pleased I commented on Reddit, though, because I hadn't really given it much thought that she would require more than counseling and more extensive treatment. Another comment that really frightened me was one suggesting that if I offer her a divorce ultimatum, she would take extreme measures. Considering those points, I don't believe that's the best course of action. Rather, I want to write her a letter outlining our need for her return, our profound love and concern for her, and the fact that she requires more assistance than either of us can offer on her own. I will also advise her to see a doctor and be open about her experiences. Update 2. My soon-to-be ex-wife has gone utterly insane. I wrote the letter to her over the course of a few days after my last post. I wrote that to let them know how much the kids and I care about her and how much we adore her. I told her about all the concerning behavior and that I thought she should see a doctor more often. Thank you to everyone who brought this to my attention. I explained that it sounded like she was experiencing complex sorrow and that the grief counseling she had years prior had not been enough to help her work through it. I did not mention that we might have a divorce, but I did explain that the kids couldn't stay in their current circumstances. I don't really feel like transcribing the whole letter here. The night I finished drafting the letter, after the kids had gone to bed, I read it to her. She gave me the old 1,000-yard stare after I finished reading for approximately 15 minutes before getting up and moving toward the door. I asked her where she was going. Could we talk about this? I'm worried about your safety, and in a frenzy, I tried to stop her. I hope when your parents die, someone doesn't tell you to get over it, she remarked, rolling her eyes at me and speaking in the coldest voice I've ever heard her use. After that, I just let her leave without attempting to stop her. It took me maybe 5 minutes to get very angry before the panic returned. I had a real fear that she would take her own life. I looked at my phone and saw that she had disabled her location. Over the course of the following hour, I must have called and texted her 50 times, pleading with her to at least confirm that she was okay and wouldn't be taking any severe action. She called me from her phone just as I was about to contact the cops. As soon as I replied, a man's voice informed me that she's fine, but she doesn't want to talk to you, and hung up before I could say anything more. At the moment, I thought I was experiencing an out-of-body experience. I was clueless as to what the duck was happening. Despite my disassociation, I nearly contacted the police. However, I talked myself out of it. All night I called her phone, but nobody answered. It started going straight to voicemail at around 2 in the morning. That night, I slept very little. She wasn't home when I woke up the following morning. Thank God the kids didn't question where mom was when I took them to daycare or school. This is something I always do, and my wife is usually still asleep. All morning I kept trying to reach my wife's phone, but all I got was voicemail. When I inquired if she was at work over the phone, her office informed me that she had phoned in ill. Being a nervous wreck, I essentially just sat on my couch and tried to get a hold of her after calling in ill to work too. I also gave my mother a call asking her if she could come get the kids from school today and stay with them overnight. I told her about something urgent that had come up and that I needed some help, but I didn't tell her everything that was going on. Sometime about 4 p.m., my wife entered the room. When I attempted to give her an embrace, she recoiled. When I asked her where she had been, she just stared blankly at me. I asked her using her phone who had called me, but she just stared at me blankly. I ordered her to get the duck out at this point because I was becoming upset and she didn't want to explain what was going on. I now feel bad for speaking it that way, but holy crap was I irritated. She then began to speak, but her voice made it sound like I was speaking to an AI. Lack of feeling, completely flat, almost irritated. She informed me that she had visited the home of her buddy, John, fictitious name. I begged her to go into more detail since I had no idea who the heck John was. I managed to extract much of the narrative from her over the course of about 2 hours of conversation. She was responding to my questions like a lawyer would, providing me with very generic responses devoid of any background information. John is essentially a co-worker. The guy and I had crossed paths a few times at office party gatherings, but we have never really spoken. He never seemed to be interested in my wife or to hang out with her. However, it appears that throughout the past year or so, she has confided in him about her anguish over her mother's passing, and he has been consoling her. She must have felt a connection with him that she did not have with me because he also lost a father to cancer. She tells me that after I read her the letter, she came to John's house to chat and get consolation since she felt that I don't care about her or her mom's death. She answered me no when I directly inquired if she was having an affair with him. She told me it was none of my concern when I questioned her about why she had never disclosed that she was good friends with this unidentified man. She claims that they cuddled, and that he held her while she cried when I questioned whether anything transpired between them while she was there. She denied when I asked to see her phone so I could read their texts. She was unable to provide me with much further information regarding the circumstances. I thus attempted to check her phone while she went to take a shower. Her passcode had been altered. I took hold of her iPad and verified there as my thumbprint biometric signature was still present. While she was taking a shower, I took the iPad and went outside to search for proof. I looked for communications to or from a John right away, but it took a little while to find it. It was clearly him, even though she had added him to her contacts as Stacy. There were texts from more than a year ago. He consoled her a lot while she talked a lot about her mother. He frequently tells her things like, "I don't really care about her," and if they were married, he would never treat her that way. Her responses were all in agreement. She's been moaning about me in a lot of texts. He trash-talked me a lot. She had texted him the night before saying, "Duck it. I'm on my way over if the offer is still there," to which he instantly replied, "Yes." She texted him the following morning, adding, "If he asks, we just talked. I spent 20 minutes throwing up out the door of my car in a Walmart parking lot. When I got home, she was on the couch using her phone as if she didn't even realize I was gone. I informed her that she had to go because I knew. Once more, she just continued to gaze at me without saying anything, till I lost my cool and told her to get the duck out of the home. She informed me John was right about you as soon as she stood up and walked out. Since then, I haven't seen her. I informed the children that she had visited her parents. I have to tell them something soon, but I'm not sure what to say. To be honest, I have no idea what to do. I should divorce her ostensibly, but it's overwhelming to consider child support, custody, and other issues. I haven't moved yet and feel immobilized. Even though I know she's gone insane and that this is most likely a psychotic break, I can't stand it any longer. I put on a strong, numb facade to go to work, and then at night, for my kids, and after they go to bed, I cry till I pass out. It seems like my life is coming to an end. Though I think John took advantage of her weakness, I don't even want to waste my time attempting to convince her that he is a predator. She made this decision rather than sticking with her ducking family.